Yeah.
Okay, so welcome and thank you for being a participant in our KCSG College Info Night. So I'm Mark Sheldon. I am the club college coordinator. And then behind me are 4 college coaches representing each level. I will let them introduce themselves. So starting from the left.
Hi, I'm Jessica Smith. I'm the head coach at Kansas City Women's Soccer.
I'm Katie LaForge, and I'm the head coach at Appalachian University.
Hi, I'm Mark Gordon, head coach, Northwest Missouri State.
Hello, I'm Jim Schwab, head coach at Johnson County Community College.
Okay, so hopefully what I'm gonna try to do is share the screen. So we have a presentation first, and then at the end, we will do a Q&A type session. We had some questions that were presented or submitted prior to this meeting, so we will address those. We also have the chat open so that at the end, if there's any other questions, people can just type into the chat and then we'll answer those questions as well. So let me try to share and see if this works. Okay, so hopefully what you will be seeing is a screen that says that has a Kansas City Scott Gallagher logo and then college just ahead. Okay, so the agenda, as I said, we will go through and discuss the recruiting process, provide some information on that, talking about building a brand in that recruiting process. And then at the conclusion, again, towards the end, we will do a Q&A, question and answer session. So as they already introduced themselves, but just gives you an idea. So Jess Smith at UMKC, she's representing the NCAA Division I. Mark Gordon from Northwest Missouri State will be representing the NCAA Division II. Katie, I keep calling her Katie Kelly, but she from Avila University represents Ncaa. And then Jim Schwab from Johnson County is the junior college Division I. And junior college also has 3 different divisions as well.
Correct, sir.
So as a club, you should have received, if you're a previous member of the club, you should have received an email from the club, which sends out the username and login information for what the club provides for free, which is called Choose It Right. And you can see in terms of kind of what the Choose It Right provides, it just kind of helps the process by streamlining schools, doing a search for different majors, different levels, all kinds of things. So, and then they provide step-by-step how-to videos to help you, figure out that process in the recruiting, as they try to figure out like where they want to, go and find schools and get the right fit really. And then you can also have a personalized profile that players can create within that. We're not going to talk a whole lot on that. We will send a upcoming here in the next couple of weeks. The club should be sending a new list of players, especially the new players that are new to the club. You will receive an email with that username login information. So as far as looking at, what are your choices and what are the differences between looking at NCAA, NAIA, or junior college? So nearly 1,500 schools offer women's soccer programs, college programs. You can see the breakdown in terms of Division I, roughly around 333, Division II, 265, and then Division III is the largest NCAA division. It's obviously got 441. The differences, Division I, really the breakdown of the different divisions is really more about kind of like-minded academic programs, the number of different athletic programs they offer, academic programs, so on. As far as Division I, you're looking at, a little bit more intense student athlete experience. They also have the largest number of scholarships available. If fully funded, they have 14 scholarships to offer to fill their rosters. For Division II, somebody answered the phone. For Division II, they offer a cap of 9.9 scholarships. And then at Division III in NCAA, there's no athletic funding or financial aid. It's all academic. At the NAIA level, typically, depending on how their financial aid is structured, but typically you're looking at on an average of around maybe 12 full scholarships when you add up everybody. But again, it could be a little bit more, it could be a little less, depending on how they structure their financial aid. At the junior college level in Division I, they can do basically full scholarships where they do tuition, books, fees, and room and board. In Division II of junior college, they cannot touch room and board. And then at Division III of junior college, there is no athletic financial aid. So again, within different levels, you have differences as well in that way. So if a student athlete or a prospective student athlete who wants to be recruited, one of the things that they need to think about is creating a list of their kind of top schools. Start off broad, especially if you're starting the process as a incoming freshman. And then as they go through that process, they can start narrowing down their list. So, don't worry about in terms of level of play, do all the different levels of schools from NCAA, NAIA, and junior college. But the biggest thing being is they need to do some work research and looking at the different roster sizes at the various schools, right? So some schools typically, I would say on the average, you're looking at NCAA being roughly around in the mid-20s. In NAIA, you could be getting into the high 20s, into the 30s, and some schools might even have up to almost 40 players on their roster. At the junior college level, you're looking at probably in the 30s, maybe high 20s. Depending on the school, just because there's turnaround every 2 years, every year you got to fill half your roster. So, and then looking at different types of, rosters, if you're looking at a school and when you're going to graduate high school, if there's not a whole lot of turnover at the college program, they may not be looking for a lot. And then just various other things that they need to kind of look at, from coaching style of play, the way the college plays, to the different coaching styles and expectations from the coach, to even just looking at the different desired player qualities, right? So some schools and coaches, they may be looking for, players that are, no shorter than, let's say, 5'8", because they just like big, athletic, fast, whatever. So again, you have to look at various things as you consider schools and starting to create your list. Other things to consider, right? You should consider where the campus is and the location and the culture on that campus, both from an academic, athletic perspective. Look at the team culture and what they're trying to build or do. And then the various financial aid and grants, whether it's athletic or academic. Some schools can stack academic on top of athletics. Some schools, it's just like one financial aid package. Look at the different types of majors or academic area of study that recruits or players are interested in, which then leads to, you know, what test scores and GPA for admission, as well as for those various majors or academic areas of study. Okay. So kind of give you a roadmap and an idea from a freshman, entering as a freshman, ninth grade of high school. What they should do is look at, you know, meet with their high school counselor and look for a list of your high school core courses that the NCAA requires, and then create a 4-year academic plan to make sure that they meet those requirements. College coaches cannot call, email, or text until June 15 following their sophomore year of high school. They can, you know, send out general questionnaires or camp information, but typically at the NCAA level, you cannot respond. At the NAIA level, there's really no recruiting rules per se. So at the NAIA level, they can talk, they can, you know, email, they can text, they can do all kinds of things. And at the junior college level,
We fall after the NAIA.
so they're a little bit more have rules than NAIA, but again, they're probably the most lenient. But in the meantime, you know, begin visiting college campuses of different types, right? So unofficial visits are somewhat like, if you're just going to a campus and want to walk around on your own, that's allowed. It's just a matter of whether the college coaches for those programs can actually meet and talk and sit down with recruits or not. And then in the meanwhile, you know, start attending college ID and summer camps. And again, just starting to create that list of colleges that you're interested in, you know, and keeping in mind things, whether both from a personal family priorities of location, finances, the desired majors, division size, etc. Okay. In your sophomore year, again, the NCAA D1 and D2 cannot talk or communicate, have contact off campus, whatever, until after June 15 of the sophomore year, at the conclusion of the sophomore year. But in the meantime, continue taking challenging classes that meet the NCAA requirements of core classes and so on. In your sophomore year, you should start to think about registering with the NCAA Eligibility Center. This is where you can, you know, start putting in information about, you know, your core classes and things like that. Even possibly, you know, taking the PSAT, getting kind of ready for those standardized tests and doing well on them. Update athletic and academic achievements, and definitely create a player profile. Within the club, we do have a template. So if you after this info night, you can send me an email and I will gladly send out the template that you can use to create your profile. If your high school offers college fairs, you know, attend those just to try to get a gauge, an idea of information about the various different colleges that are around here locally, and then thinking about even farther away, different levels. You should start beginning to review your list of initial schools that you may have had interested in. You should complete recruiting questionnaires at specific targeted schools that are on your list. So you can go to their website, a school's website, and usually they will have some form of like an online recruiting questionnaire. That typically goes to the college coach at that school, and it brings up your name with various information, right? And then start beginning to email contact college coaches from the list of schools you have, making sure that you provide your graduation year, because that's important, because at the different levels, obviously at D1, D2, they cannot contact and respond to your email. So otherwise they're breaking compliance, and we don't want to do that. And then send your soccer tournament or showcase type schedules, upcoming games that we might be able to see you at, along with your GPA up to that point, your test scores, and contact information. Continue to visit college campuses. You can set up going to visit unofficially, and then again in this, during the summer, and some colleges even offer it during the academic year, whether it's winter or spring, they might have some ID camps. As you enter your junior year, now coaches can call, email, or text after June 15 at the conclusion of your sophomore year. So you need to make sure academically you're still on track to take those courses and graduate on time with those required core classes. Have your high school submit the official high school transcript to the Ncaa Eligibility Center at the end of your junior year. That gives us a real good idea, from a perspective of your eligibility. Register for, if you haven't taken your standardized test, whether SAT or ACT, you need to register for that and make sure that the scores are submitted to the Ncaa Eligibility Center. And that's the code that you can fill in when you do that. NAIA has a completely different, separate eligibility center.
We do it separately.
Okay.
It's not a clearinghouse.
Okay. But yeah, just make sure that you do both, just to keep your options open. At this point, you should, as you're in your junior year, develop a financial plan for college, whether it's, if you're good, you have a high GPA and your test scores are good, you can get more academic money based on your academic merit and so on. But there's also all kinds of private scholarships and need-based scholarships that are out there. KCP&L, like for example, you can go on their website, and if you're a customer, you can fill out, they have during the senior year, you can fill out a scholarship application, and they hand out like $1,000 up to, I think, $5,000 throughout. So, I mean, there's all kinds of private money that's available as well. So that's one of the things, like with your high school counselors, just make sure you pursue all different avenues of financial aid and private scholarships and so on. Okay. Continue to contact college coaches. Make sure that you provide your player profile information and schedule of games. And at this point, now you're narrowing down the list of colleges that you're potentially interested in as well. Hopefully by this time you've had some communication in your junior year with various college coaches, and then start narrowing down that list. Attend college soccer summer camps. So one of the things that, there's general college ID camps that are run by different various organizations or groups or clubs or whatever, that offer you the opportunity to have multiple college coaches. But then once you start talking and have interest in a particular college, my recommendation is you go to their summer college camp, their ID camp, because you'll be able to A, visit their campus, B, you're going to work with their college staff, college coaches, And then a lot of times there may be even college players that are currently on that roster that are working. So you can talk to them kind of unofficially or informally to find out, hey, what do you like it? What are you guys doing, off the field? Ask them various things that they can find out. You can set up unofficial visits after August 1 of the junior year with NCAA D1 schools. And I believe unofficially, you can start visiting
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not as restrictive as
Okay.
as you guys.
the same for D2. It might even actually be,
It's less restrictive.
yeah, less restrictive, so. Okay, so now as you enter your 12th grade or senior year of high school, make sure you have all the required courses taken. If you need to retake your standardized test, SAT, ACT, do so. A lot of times, colleges will accept what's called super scores. So like if you took the ACT and you scored 21 on the math, but you did really well on the English and got like a 28, you can retake that. And if you improve on your math and get like a 29, then they will do a super score and up that so that it improves your overall, and just, do it that way. So the higher your ACT and GPA is, trust me, you will be more eligible for academic money. So make sure that you do whatever you can to, focus on your academics during high school with your GPA, but also with a standardized test. At this point, you should also complete your FAFSA. I believe it's typically in October 1 of your senior year is when this FAFSA, which stands for Free Application for Federal, it should be student aid. Everybody needs to do it, but it allows you to get an idea of what you would be qualifying for as far as federal student financial aid. And then make sure that you start completing college applications, and make sure that official transcripts and test scores are sent to those colleges as well. Just kind of being proactive in this whole process. You can now set up official visits as well. And at the NCAA Division I level, you have a total of 5 official visits that you can take, 1 per institution. So again, you now need to narrow down your list of your top 5 programs that you've been either communicating with, being recruited by, and interested in, so that you have your official visits then. A lot of times you do at Division I level, you will take unofficial visits your junior year, and then your official visits your senior year. So just ask the school how they handle their official visits. Okay. At the Division II level, Mark.
Very similar.
Okay.
Yep, same thing.
At the NAIA level, you can take visits almost any time, even as a freshman, if they really wanted to. And then at the junior college level, it's not until after completion of their junior year can they do official visits. Also, at this point, you should complete your, all academic stuff on the Eligibility Center for the NCAA or NAIA. And then in the NCAA, you have to fill out or complete the final amateurism certification, just so that they know you didn't get paid to play growing up. Otherwise, that does make you ineligible. So you need to complete the amateurism certification. Once you complete this whole process and you finish your senior year of high school, you must ask your counselor or high school to submit your final official transcript and a proof of graduation to the NCAA Eligibility Center or even NAIA and so on. So they need that in order for you to come in and be eligible to start in the fall after your senior year. So just a couple things to consider, right? So we talk about your core classes, your academics, your test scores, your GPA. So in this whole process, be the best student you can be during high school, right? Don't get complacent just because, okay, sorry. And yep, can you make sure that we are, you aren't on mute? Be the best student. You have your GPA and test score so that, because you're going to probably, especially NCAA, you can get more academic money or just as much as athletic. And if you stack it on top and combine both, it makes college way more affordable for sure, right? So gives us a lot more at the college level if we stack academic onto your athletic. And that is true at NAIA and all, really. Seek and ask for honest feedback as a player for yourself, whether it's your club coach, whether it's your high school coach, whether it's your ODP coach, or whoever it may be that has the knowledge and awareness to understand what it takes at the various college levels of D1, D2, NAIA, and even within NAIA, you get so many different level schools. You have to go see the college that you're looking to go play at and see them play and be honest about what they're able to do, right? What are the qualities and attributes that they have? If you want to play at North Carolina, I mean, you got to understand what the type of level of players and what they're doing there to even maybe get a response for them, or whether it's the locally, you can see them play a lot easier. But you need some honest feedback from someone in order to have a gauge of being, are you realistically able to play at that level? Because otherwise you're just kind of, I won't say wasting time, but you're banging your head against the brick.
I think she should be good to go Thursday, but it's kind of like your gut feeling. It's feeling pretty good. Hopefully we can see you one more time, then we can really test out the rest of the stuff. Just kind of prove yourself with actual clear cut numbers.
I will ask one more time if you can just double check and
So-
make sure.
What else does she continue doing exercises at home
Oh, yeah.
though?
Yep.
I'm sure. And then, so do we need to come back in? Like,
I think so. That way we can kind of I want her to bring her cleats next time.
okay.
And I'm
Her bags
okay
are-
with you kind of just going for a run or a jog, even if you want to start stretching out a little bit.
All right, we're trying to figure out the.
Fun to do. So you got to start running fast, just give yourself plenty of space to really slow down. Because usually it's the acceleration that will kind of, we already talked about the shin muscle, but the acceleration will also kind of just put a lot of stress in the baby.
That button.
So there might be a little bit of discomfort with that, but that's all good. All normal. So gotta get the jog in. I'll update her sheet and kind of send it over to you too. Yeah, you just gotta keep listening at half. Okay? It's you gotta be tired, even a couple times a day. Just to get rid of that calf inhibition. I mean, she's at 29 and 30, so her calf strength is basically kind of return.
Okay, thank you. Technology great at its best. Sorry about that. So you, as a player, you need to train and play. Like if you have a college coach watching you at practice or at every game, because you really honestly do not ever know who is watching. So that it's a small community, to be honest. And, you will have somebody who knows somebody who definitely knows somebody that you want at a college that you want to play at. And, we have our network of people we trust, and we call them and contact them and ask them, hey, do you know this player? Do you, or can you go watch them at, in a game on a weekend if we're not available or we're not maybe close, right? So you just never know who's going to have eyes on you. So just make sure that you always play like you're trying out for that college that you want to play at. And then lastly, be careful about what is on your social media. And we're going to talk a little more about that in the next segment, as far as, the branding as a recruit, the branding and so on. So this is, well, as a recruit, you have to brand yourself so that colleges and college coaches want you to be a part of their program. One of the things that we do is we do essentially almost like a social media background check, okay? Because if someone's interested and we're interested, the next step, we need to know more about you as a person, who you are, if you're going to be a positive influence and addition to the program, to our program. So, if your social media is out there publicly, we can find it. We'll take a look real quick and see, what are you posting? Are you the type of person that we want in our program? So, I mean, to the point where, if we can see who you follow, like, and all that, we will note that as well. One of the things that, we'll look at as well, especially if we're at a recruiting event, is your body language, right? How do you interact, and what, if you make a mistake during a game, what's your body language like? If a coach tries to correct you and give you feedback, constructive criticism, what's your body language like, right? Do you keep eye contact? Do you listen? All those things are part of that whole process for us evaluating you as a potential recruit. And then a lot of times, how are you perceived by your coaches, by your other players? Even to the point where, trust me, there has been actions of parents have influenced whether a college coach will recruit you as a potential recruit or not. If a parent is acting, in a negative way on the sideline, yelling at referees, yelling at the coach, and yelling at your teammates, yelling at you, and just not appropriately, there's a lot of college coaches who will find out whose parent that is. And unfortunately, if it's you and you want to be recruited by that school, they may stop doing that because of that. So just be aware that your actions, reflect negatively or positively in many ways. It's not just about who you are, but also how others see you. So the things that you do, again, that's gonna be a part of that process. So how do you brand and build a brand that is a positive reflection of you? Make sure that, if you have emails or social media accounts, make sure that you create maybe a soccer specific account that, and you can use your name, your club team, or a uniform number, whatever, grad year as part of that account name, but make it appropriate. Make it something that's going to be a positive reflection. There's been a lot of emails that I've looked at, that I've gotten, that I look at the name on that email and I'm like, oh, wow. It's just maybe not the most appropriate. So again, create soccer specific or accounts that are for the recruiting process, right? Make your personal accounts, your personal Instagram, Twitter, private, but then keep the soccer ones public, right? As part of that, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, right? Try to create like about a 1-minute video that you can introduce yourself, talk about yourself a little bit, the various information for soccer that most coaches will want, but mainly so coaches can see your face, see your body language, and try to get an idea of who you are, and make sure you try to pin it at the top of your profile. Your profile bio needs to make sure that it includes your club team, your uniform number, high school, grad year, as well as your contact info and your coach's email or contact info. Okay, that way, if we like what we see, then we can start contacting club coaches, especially if you are not of recruitable age, or we're not able to contact you directly. And make sure that you include your social media accounts and link it in the emails that you send to college coaches, so that they have easy access to find out who you are. In your Instagram, Twitter, you can create individual highlight clips and put it on there, create positive posts that are on there. But also, I would say is kind of balance out your soccer posts with life posts, right? So if you're passionate about something beyond soccer, besides soccer, do that, right? Because that gives us an idea about who you are and other things that you might be doing in a positive way, right? If you're volunteering for things, post that. We need to know. And mainly just be yourself, show your personality, right? Because again, that gives us a much better idea about you as a person off the soccer field, not just on the soccer field. The big question, with everything that you do is, would you recruit and sign you based on what's on your social media and what you post? If the answer is no, you should delete those things. You should take them off, to make sure that you send out a much better public idea of who you are than some of the things that you may have already done. All right. Also, make sure that be careful, what you like, what you follow. I said that before, who you're interacting with on social media. And the best thing is just always err on the side of caution. If you're not sure about something, or you're very uncomfortable about maybe, what you're going to post, maybe get a second opinion, whether it's your parent, your coach, or just a friend, and before you do it, right? And then as far as who you're following or interacting with, a lot of times, just follow your club accounts, your team, other, college programs, the college coaches. That way you're always kind of getting updates or notifications about what the school you're interested in, what they're doing, things like that. Following, other soccer players you admire, whether it's like on the U.S. national team or club, the professional NWSL teams and things like that, right? And then following school accounts. They're always safe. linking it with your like high school program, things like that, always safe. So. All right, so now that as you try to contact college coaches, right, and sending emails, if you haven't done so, you should, I mean, Gmail's free, so just go create a more of a professional email address. You know, it could be as simple as just your first last name, your grad year, and that's perfect, right? Whenever you send an email, the subject line, make sure you include your first last name, grad year, position, and maybe your team even, right? So that it's something that is we can see. If it's a grad year thing where we know we can't contact you or respond or reply to it, that helps us, right? And then make sure you personalize to the coach, right? So don't use a generic greeting like "Dear Coach." Make sure when you personalize the name of the coach that you're sending the email to, that you have the correct coach and you try to spell their name correctly, right? So nothing like when I get an email and it's the previous staff coach's name that's on there. More often than not, it's probably deleted. So because if you don't have the time to take to make sure that it's the current staff and current coach and the correct name, it sends the wrong kind of perception about you, right? So make sure you do it. Take that little, 30 seconds to go look it up and use their correct name. Be short and direct, right? We get a lot of emails, don't try to write a biography. We just want basic facts that are relevant to showing, why you might be a good fit for us, right? So in the next couple of slides, we'll talk about what that content would be, right? And then again, make sure you link your social media platforms in that email so that if we want to search, it's right there. So when sending an email, hopefully. Okay. Personalize, customize the email, right? Make it special. It should be unique to them. Research the school and be able to communicate what you find attractive about their school and their soccer program, right? And as you do it, make sure, again, you put your name and grad year in the subject line in every single email you send to that school or to that coach. And here's one of the reasons why. If you do it over and over, your name is going to be recognized, right? I can tell you for a fact that I know certain kids' names just because I see it all the time on a weekly basis. So make sure that you're consistent with that. Email should be sent by the player, right? Parents, coaches can kind of proofread and look for grammar or spelling errors, but always send the email from the player's account that you created from Gmail or whatever, right? So most relevant information in those emails. Again, it's somewhat redundant, but your name, grad year, where you're located, club team, uniform name, provide kind of an interest in major or area of study, because if you want to, pursue a major that maybe we don't have already, that kind of, cuts to the chase there. Your GPA, academic info, GPA, ACT, SAT score, why the college is a good fit. Here's ways that we can see you play. So include upcoming schedule, events, or tournaments. And then make sure you provide your contact information and your coaches, whether it's, again, club, high school, ODP, or whoever else has maybe worked with you. Include a highlight video if possible, if you have it. And then maybe plans for when you might be in the area to visit the college. If you're, following compliance, the rules, and you can, it's in your junior year, maybe trying to set up an unofficial visit and so on. Okay. So that highlight video, right? It can be a great recruiting video, a tool that can be beneficial in the process to be recruited, but make sure that eventually, if we're interested, we're probably going to see you live in person. But that video can be the initial spark that of initial interest to say, hey, we got to go see this person, this player live. Okay. In the video, we probably want to have about, somewhere around 20, 25 plays that you're included in. Make sure that the length is appropriate. So like 3 to 5 minutes, right? And just making sure that you're not repeating, plays and just some simple thing of, you have all the time in the world and the ball is coming to you and you have no pressure and you happen to control the ball. Well, so just make sure that the videos and the plays are appropriate to showing us what you're truly capable of. Okay. In the video, stack most of your best plays at the beginning because you need to start the video off with a bang and grab our attention, right? And then you can sprinkle in with other remaining highlights throughout the video. And make sure that, as much as possible, you're able to showcase your absolute best plays if you can within those highlight videos. Within the highlight videos is different positions, right? These are things that we as coaches might want to see. So for the most part, you can see, I'm not going to go through every position and everything, but you can see, the various things. Somehow the goalkeeping things went away. So what we'll do is we'll send a PDF of this presentation to everybody that registered and is participating here in the Zoom. Okay. Yep, there you go. Sorry. Technology, sometimes it's great and sometimes not so great. So again, I will send a PDF of this, but most of you probably have an idea. If you don't, again, you can email me. You can talk to your club coaches. You can talk to, people who can help you kind of understand what it is, what's a good video. The last part, I think, is kind of here finishing up with, because we had some questions about camps, ID camps. It's a great recruiting tool, but make sure it's a realistic fit as well, right? So if you're not maybe playing on the top team within your club and your age group, maybe going to North Carolina's ID camp, flying all the way there from the Midwest is not the best use of your resources, right? So again, just try to be more realistic and get guidance about what level maybe you should be looking at, right? But make sure that if you're going to attend an ID camp, you email coaches ahead of time, at least a week out, and then maybe send a reminder that you're going to be at this ID camp that they've signed up to attend and recruit at. right? And then follow up, prior to it, to make sure that after the camp, follow up with an email and see if, they might be able to get on a phone call and talk to you if the rules allow them to do so. One of the questions that was asked or submitted was about what differences between like these general ID camps and then college-specific on-campus camps that colleges offer. I think, the ID camps that all have multiple coaches from different colleges there, obviously that's a good use of your resources because you'll be in front of multiple, coaches at one camp. But make sure that the camp format allows you to be seen in a more of a game, that they're going to get to like maybe a full 11v11 scrimmage, so that you can play your position and they're able to see you do that. If you're kind of along the recruiting process to where you're speaking and talking to college coaches about their schools, they've made an offer, maybe you definitely need to go to that college's ID camp. It helps you to see the campus, to work with the coaching staff and players and all that, but also then, they'll be able to maybe provide a much better idea about what kind of how you're going to fit in and the kind of the financial aid package that they can come up with to make an offer in that process. So there's a value to both. I don't think you just want to say, I'm doing this one or that one, okay? Another question that was asked, submitted was about, well, you're in this process, you go on a visit or you're at a camp or, you're talking to a college coach on the phone, what are some questions that you might ask them? Again, I'm not going to go through and read through, but there are different categories of types of questions you might ask. So questions about the team, right? So, do some maybe research about that. Especially the question, how will I fit in with the team, or do freshmen play at the college, right? Those might be good ones about where you might fit in from a team standpoint. Talk about and ask questions about the coaching style, right? Because again, you want to make sure you're the right fit for them, vice versa. How do they coach? What's their coaching style, right? And then maybe questions about the schedules, what's a typical schedule look like during season, out of season, what's the weekly schedule look like, especially maybe traveling on the road, things like that, right? What happens if you have to miss a practice? What are their expectations as far as that, right? So, because sometimes depending on your major, that may happen, so. Oh, good Lord. Okay, questions about life as a student athlete, right? So that's going to be an important one. A lot of times, if you're in the certain medical fields, like being a nurse or being a doctor, pre-med and things like that, you should ask, like, how do you balance that with soccer, right? And what's going to happen if you have a class that might conflict with practice, right? So you should find out, right? And then questions about the recruiting and admission process at that particular school, you should also maybe look at and think about. And then lastly, obviously the big question, what kind of scholarships, how much does a school cost? All those types of things are questions that you will want to know about before committing or going further in that process. All right. I have bored you enough talking this whole time. So now we have virtual questions and answers, which then the college coaches will have time to share based on their school, their level, and so on, right? So the first virtual question and answer is, do you recommend obtaining a quote statement from maybe both your club and high school coaches that can be a part of the player's profile? So like, I guess, testimonial about you. Do you want something in writing, I guess? So if we just start with Jess and then we'll go across, you each can kind of briefly share.
I would say if I have a relationship with that club or high school coach, that might be beneficial. But for me, without those people really knowing what our program is like or what other schools are around, who we have, etc., that statement doesn't mean a whole lot to me. So I would say spend more of your time creating a highlight so that I can actually see for myself what you look like, and I can say how you might fit in with our program. And I think the biggest thing is just video and also being able to see you live. So I would spend more time communicating those things.
Yeah, this is Katie LaForge. I would just pretty much say ditto. The only other piece I think is if we, do know those club coaches or your high school coach, and we would go to that source. So getting a written statement yeah, not necessary in my opinion. Process.
Same answer. I think that it's something that many coaches won't find necessary. If it's there, it's not an issue. But I believe as coaches, we will pursue the club coaches, high school coaches to gather information about you as a player.
Same here. I think I agree with all the coaches. I think it helps, but it's not, we're not just going to go off that. I think we have to see the live, we have to see the videos, we have to check their reputation. If they're club hopping, if they're, they're going from club to club to club, it's not really, for me, it's not that attractive, but I think it carries a lot of weight if you're with a good club and your coaching profile. So it helps, but it doesn't, it's not my end or be all.
So it's probably more important that you have your coach's contact info, the correct contact info in your player profile. So, okay. Next question is, what is the best way to get invited to attend an ID camp for legit prospects on your campus or an official visit? So let's start the opposite direction with Coach Schwab from Johnson County.
You know what, in the junior college, we do some ID camps. We don't do a lot of them. We're basically a trickle. I know the Division I sent a lot of ID camps, Division II. I don't know if Katie's involved in it yet. That's certain NAI programs. We're not big into the ID camps because our rosters turn over so much. So it's we're through the recruiting process.
So you don't host it,
No.
but you do attend.
We do attend a lot of them, Mark.
I don't know that there's necessarily, I think some schools get selective and have invite type ID camps, but most are generally open as coaches. Sometimes we can't be everywhere to see all players, and from time to time, there will be a player that will arrive at an ID camp. So I think it's just doing the research and seeing what's out there, what's available in ID camps to be able to attend. I don't think really anybody's going to turn away an opportunity to have a potential student athlete at their university attend their camp to learn more about them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way is just to show your interest. I know for me personally, since at NAI don't have a ton of rules as far as communication with players. As soon as I get an email that expresses genuine interest in the program and why, I'll send them an invitation to come to the ID camp. I think it's just, like we've already said, you get to see the campus, see how I coach, see how my staff is, see how my players are. It's just a really, really good way to get a full picture.
I'd echo what Katie just said. I think it's challenging at times when you get so many emails from players to actually know and differentiate for each player if you haven't seen them live. So if somebody's interested, I think that schools want them to come on campus so that we have an opportunity to see. You may not be a prospect that's going to be in the top pool of that specific school that you're going to. But I think I would worry less about, am I receiving this email because I'm a legit prospect, and more about, I'm going to go to this school and I'm going to make an impact so that the coach views me as that, and less worry about how I got invited. I think you should target camps that you want to attend, and regardless of, I mean, the reality of it is coaches can send emails out. We can get a database from a local club and we can invite people, and whether that's personalized or not, it's a way for you to get to the camp and show what you could do. So I think at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
I think that you should look at attending ID camps, especially when it is farther away geographically, because the reality is we're not going to be able to maybe as easily fly out or be able to see you play. So you got to make it easier for the college coaches by attending their camp and getting in front of them. So I think that's one of the other reasons you should attend ID camps, right? As far as official visits, kind of how do you all handle that? So let's start with Mark Gordon this time.
There are different ways in terms of how the visit process goes. In my experience talking to other colleagues, in many instances through unofficial visits and the process, starting within your junior year and working through, decisions are made, and the official visit will actually be used after a player has signed. So in some instances, your process is done and the official visit can come after the fact, when you're able to bring the entire class in or something like that. Again, I have different colleagues that do it different ways. Some use them, distance matters too. So geographically, again, it's much easier to do an unofficial visit for all of us based on being in the Kansas City, Omaha, Des Moines, those kind of things, areas. Whereas if you have a potential prospect that is from Washington State or somewhere like that, you may use that official visit sooner to get them here to help with the cost of their travels.
Let's go to Coach Schwab from Johnson County.
Any type of like if we come in for a visit, if we pay any kind of fees for hotels, flights, or any kind of meals, that's an official visit for us. They can come to campus 2, 3, 5, 100 times. Okay, we're not restricted like some. So we have that advantage. We can walk around campus, tour the campus. We have a facility that's known to a lot of the clubs that they come in and use futsal. They use they're at our facility anyways, and it's a way they're on campus. But if I pay, like I bring in a couple girls from Canada, I'll fly them in, put them up in a hotel for a couple of days, and then ship them back out. That's an official visit. Anytime I put $1 on the visit, that's official for us.
Yeah, that's the same pretty much at Ncaa as well. So, but I would say ours, because typically I would say, or at least at Avila, we have a lot of local kids. So I would categorize our visits more as formal and informal. And the informal is you just meet with me, or, and I give you a little bit of a tour. And the more formalized way is through our admissions, and then you get the whole shebang, the full tour. You see everything, but informal or formal, I do like them to come to practice. They can participate in practice if they like. But again, as soon as the money becomes a part of it, then it does kind of change it a little bit. So, but that's just for me personally.
So, Coach Smith, can you differentiate the unofficial to official, since we've heard about dollars or money now getting involved?
Yeah, so for NCAA Division I, the rules have changed in the last year to where you can, August 1st of your junior year, you can now be provided an official visit, whereas in the past it was your senior year, you couldn't go on an official visit, or excuse me, an official visit. In the past, it was always unofficial, and unofficial means that we cannot pay for any part of your travel, meals, or lodging. But an official visit, we are able to pay for some of those expenses. So you can only have one official visit to an institution. So if a player, I know a lot of people, I think Mark mentioned this already, that after you commit to an institution, a lot of times you want to bring that whole class in for an official visit so they can hang out together and meet the teammates they're going to be playing with. So if I use your official visit in your junior year, I'm not able to pay for you to come back your senior year. So it's just a strategy that I think different schools will have different ways that they handle it. For us, I think at Division I level, I think that budget also goes into it. Of course, we only have so much money to be paying for people to come in. So maybe it's an official visit, but we're only going to pay for a portion of it. Whereas you go to a Power 5 school and they'll pay for meals and lodging and transportation for you and your immediate family. So your parents, you can also, you'd have to check the rules if you have maybe a step parent that needs to come or a sibling. There's also ways that those people can be paid for. So that would be explained to you when you would be going on one of those visits.
Is there still an hour restriction that you can be on campus?
Yeah, it's a 48-hour visit when it's an official visit. Okay.
Otherwise, it's not.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah. So for unofficial, you can take as many as you want, come to campus, see a game, come back to campus, have more of a formal tour. It's a great way just to be around the staff and the team and just to understand if you might fit in to the environment.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next question, it says, are there summer or spring camps offered by college campuses for I'm not sure what this age group, but let's say PSAs, recruitable? If so, how can we receive this information? Katie, we'll start with you.
I think probably the easiest way, the first way would be straight up ask that question in an email. So if we do have something available, we'll be able to shoot it to you right away because it's most likely electronic. So I think then probably the next couple steps would be the social media route. So on our websites and hopefully also on our personal or on our team Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Yeah, I think just asking for that information is probably step one. That's probably the best way to go about it.
And then we'll go to Jess.
I think just additional information that, so are there summer and spring camps? Yes, I think every school does it differently. A lot of times before the high school season will start, there's going to be ID camps offered, usually 1-day ID camps. Some schools do them in the fall as well. It's a little bit more challenging when we're in our championship season to actually host a clinic, but it's another way to get prospects to campus. So I would just contact coaches that you are interested in and take advantage of any opportunities that might be going on. I think you'll see more and more that camps are no longer, I mean, there are overnight ID camps, 2-3 days, but I think a lot of people are doing 1-day ID camps because coaches know that resources are thin and you need to be able to get around to different camps to take visits. So I think that's a convenient way to be able to do if you have the resources to be able to do multiple camps.
Coach Schwab?
I say we're a two-edged sword here. And what I mean by that, we're getting players in, but we also try to showcase them with the schools. So we've played Mark in the spring. We've played Katie in the spring. We haven't been invited yet here, but maybe we'll get a formal invitation here tonight. Okay, Mark is, harder to deal with than Jess, so hopefully our relationship can get going here. But our job is to get players in, polish them up. They get 40 to 50 games of college experience. They move them on, whether they're fresh, they don't put the freshman 20 on, but they're successful in the classroom. They get a high GPA and they're moving on. So we're recruiting, we're pushing girls in and then pushing them out, which we love the resources here and the clubs. So we're kind of a crock pot of the recruiting and the camps. We don't really have a lot of camps. We go to everybody else's and try to be out there, but we try to get exposure for our players because we have to get them someplace. That's our success as well.
Mark?
Yeah, I think they've covered everything.
Okay. So I guess the last, it says, if so, how can we receive? You receive the information by either following their Twitter, social media, and or then you have to go seek that information, whether it's an email asking for it and or you going to their website to seek it. So, okay, next one. It says pros or cons of recruiting services like the NCSA or Huddle and all the other various recruiting services. So this time, let's start with Katie.
Okay. This is always a good question.
I'm glad you went first.
I would say that at all levels and all coaches, because when I first arrived at Avila, I had to use all of these things because I didn't have all of my channels set yet. We still definitely utilize the coaches that we know, but it is a great way just to start kind of collecting names, databases, and it's really more for like a truly collecting information on the players, seeing where they are, graduation year, the grades, all that good stuff. I think the video clips, are a little bit more of a pro to me in the recruiting process. But I wouldn't, this maybe is bad for these particular groups. The cons is that you typically have to pay quite a bit to be on these services. And I personally don't think that that is necessary to my particular style of recruiting and where I'm at in my coaching career and the level that I coach at. But so that could be very different for the other schools. So I'll let them speak on that.
Mark?
The information they put out can vary, kind of what Katie's covered. Cost of the services, things like that can be challenging. Ultimately, in the end, if there are some interest, again, we're going to want to go through the student athlete. All the coaches will want that. It's required. Ncaa says can't have like a recruiting agent, that kind of thing. So we have to work through the student athlete. It's a good way to get them out there. And if there's some interest, I think the coach will reach out if the information is provided to contact the student athlete.
Coach Schwab?
I think if you can use the tips that you had here, and this is great information, but what you put in is what you're going to put out. If you're just waiting for recruiting service to do your work for you, you're not going anywhere. You have to put the time in, you have to put the effort in. I suggest you go see every level here, okay, and go spend time with your daughter, okay, and spend time on their campus, watching the games, and then the services will take care of itself. If you're a good enough player and you're realistically where you should be, Because everybody, you know, I go, don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't be afraid to get the answer. I'm pretty direct, okay, but hey, why can't I go here? Well, you're not talented enough, okay? Sorry. So, if, you know, I want to call K-State or I want to call UNKC. Do you want me to call the sorority or where do you want me to call? Okay, because the work ethic that you have to have at each level is very different, and it's climbing a ladder. And if you can't climb to the top, you shouldn't go there. You should start where you should start. And I think every girl that plays at a high level club can have an opportunity to play and get their scholarship paid for if they're realistically around about their, you know, inspirations and all that.
Coach Smith.
Yeah, I think, like Katie said, everyone does things a little bit differently, I think. So I don't think you can say like at this level, we look at this, and this level, it's probably specific to the coach. But for me personally, it's about if I don't know a player or I don't know the club that they're from, I need to see an initial video clip that piques my interest. But then also you just have to see it live, because you can't tell how fast somebody really is on the video. I don't know how good the opponent actually is on video. So the video is the most important thing for me. And to be honest with you, when I see emails from Ncaa, I usually delete them because they just don't seem very personal to me. I don't need a long email at all. I just need a clip and some contact information. And then from there, I need to see you live and play and see what you have to offer. And not just one time, but multiple times to see what your body of work is over time.
The big thing too is when you see this, okay, when you see a video, like you're looking at a video and you can't even see like the number. The quality of the video is so important. Like you look at a video and you're like, so you really want me to look at this? Like you can't even look at it. Okay. So if you're going to waste your time with that, another thing is a lot of these places, they send group emails. They'll send the same thing. And if you scroll down the whole list of they'll have 150 coaches on the email, on the thread. Well, you want to go to Costco, shop there, but don't shop there for a player.
Which goes back to earlier about personalizing information, right? Emails, contact info. So, all right, next question. It says, once you receive a written formal offer, what are the next steps? When you have a formal offer, do you often see any room for negotiation? If so, what may those things to consider be? So this time we'll start with Mark Gordon.
Boy. Yeah, so a lot of times for most, as people are shopping for their university, their program, they're looking, you know, at a variety of things within the school, right? So you get the written offer. A lot of times there's going to be a timeline on whether you accept. I have colleagues that give you 2 weeks, some give more. And so it's either accept or don't accept. Let me see when see any room for negotiation. Typically, again, it varies on what the needs are. I think that, you know, a lot of players, you have a good idea that they're going to come in and perform for you. You've made an offer, and there can be growth in that offer. You know, Mark mentioned in one of the slides, is there a possibility to increase scholarship based from freshman year to sophomore year, those kind of things. There's also the reality of if you don't perform as a freshman, there will be scholarship taken away. So those are not permanent offers, 4-year commitments. The Ncaa does not allow that. They are renewable, but those can change year to year based on performance. If you know, I know there are folks that will take some of these offers, they use them, show them at other places where they're looking, and that's fine. I think everybody does their best to put their best possible offer on the table for what their team's needs are. But the reality is in the NCAA 2, there are 11 players at a time on the field. We have 9.9. So that right there makes it pretty clear that the idea of a full soccer scholarship is going to be very hard to come by at our level. It is a mixture of the academic with the soccer. But again, as you're trying to build a program, yes, with multiple players in a class, they have to consider what's available. So there was a question about what number am I on your recruit list? If it just becomes too much, then if you were 1, number 2 is probably really close to who you are, and people will move on. And that's okay. If the offer isn't what it needs to be, it's nothing personal. We just have to move on to who's next available and who might fit the bill for what the program needs for that season.
Mark, when you say 9.9, 9.9 times what? Total tuition, books, fees, housing?
Yes, yeah,
Is that the whole number?
yeah.
So I think parents have to understand that when you say 9.9, it's like, well, I scholarship, Mark, that's 1, Katie's 2, Jess is 3, Mark's 4. That's not, it's the dollar figure.
Yeah. it's a
So you got to
dollar
piece your, I mean, nobody comes into a CEO and says how you run your company. And that's how we run our companies. I mean, I'm a little different than everybody else at the table, and everybody else has different parameters, but parents are ruthless when they think their daughter's worth X and they're not getting X.
Well, and so how many players are on your roster?
Right now I have 28.
So you have 28 players and you have 9.9 scholarships. So if you do the math, there's either 9.9 kids on full and then the rest are not getting any money, or you have to divide up those 9.9 to
Yes.
get 28 players.
Yep.
So rare to see somebody probably on a full,
Correct.
right?
At-
Okay.
At the Division II
Yeah.
level.
So at the junior college level, Jim, how's that?
I have 24 books, tuition, and fee waivers. Okay, and then they can get money for academics. They get $500 if they have 3.5 or above. So they can get $500 coming in and then $500 additional each semester. They maintain a 3.5. So basically, I mean, I hate to say it, it's free. Okay, all right. And I know everybody cringes at the table, but yeah, no. So we're very fortunate, and I think it's a good way to start to see if your passion grows for soccer. And I think the schedule and everything, but yeah, we have 24 books and tuition waivers and fee waivers. That equals out to a dollar amount.
Coach Jess?
For NCAA Division I, you're not going to receive a written offer until you're signing your senior year. So if you get offered your junior year, it is a verbal offer. I cannot write it down for you and show you. I can't send it in an email. It's a violation. So everything is just verbal. So you have to take really good notes. And I think as far as negotiation, I think Mark kind of mentioned this. We spend a lot of time looking at our positional needs in that class and what scholarship money we have available. We do our research on, we try to, about family background, what the financial needs might be. There's kids that you target that definitely need higher amounts, and there's some that don't need as much, and we have to make decisions that are going to be for the best of our program and to get the best players possible. So I think most staffs probably spend a lot of time into that formal offer. And so for me, it's not really negotiation in that. I think it's a little, how do I say? I've had people ask me if there's more money available, and for me, like, this is the offer, and if you come in and you make an impact and you prove yourself on the soccer field, if there is additional monies available, you will be considered for those dollars, but nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah, you're unproven. I mean, yeah, you're a good club player. You have not proven anything at the collegiate level yet. And so we're doing it in good faith, some video, some multiple games we get to watch against you know, depending on your level of club and so forth. And then it's about performance. Once you're there, academically, socially, and what you're doing for the soccer program. And so there's possibilities to increase that. So yeah, the whole written, the formal offer, I should have just spelled it out as Jess did. It's not until the signing day. That's when it's formalized in terms of you signing on the national signing day.
Which the national signing day is typically around like November of the senior year.
Yeah, November.
Katie, how do you do?
Always a different ballgame
Yeah.
with the NAIA.
I
So,
want to hear this one.
and then on top of it, I would like to put a little asterisk on this, that every single NAIA institution is drastically different with their scholarship models. So that is a big question that you need to come in and ask pretty much right away. It's always tough to talk about money, but it's, at the end of the day, I think it's the deal breaker for whether you can attend that institution or not. So for us at AVLA, we have the ability to now to stack academic and athletic. However, there is a ceiling to both of those things. And in full transparency, the percentage that you would probably get, unless you are, you know, academically, you're at the top of the top, you're probably looking at about a 70 to 80% scholarship. But again, that's if you take care of business in the classroom before you come. And like the presentation also gave great information on, bring private and outside, you know, scholarships with you. There's so much money out there that's just untapped. And so those can help kind of make that full scholarship seem possible. So I would say definitely for my institution specifically, there is no room for negotiation because I just don't have that ability. My roster size is 34. So I also am functioning, you know, with the spreading it out and helping to get those ones that are higher need, you know, potentially bring in their outside scholarships in or and all that good stuff. So that's the first conversation you got to have with the NAIA institutions though, because every single one's different.
Mark, question, and I have a question for the panel.
Yeah.
We're in a COVID situation. We're still in it, right? How has it affected the D1 level, NAIA level, D2 level? Because I know we've talked about it. I think it's a factor. And with the transfer portal, with the Ncaa institutions, I mean, Jess, can you, and I hate to take over, Pat saying Jack there, okay? All right, but I hate to take over for you, but.
I think for us, obviously with the dead period, everything is slowed down a lot. You'll see some institutions are making offers just by looking at video. Other schools like ours, we are slowing everything down. We want players to be able to take visits, want to see them live. So I think it's been really difficult for institutions, and also on the potential student athletes as well. But the NCAA allows for players to basically have a year back now because of COVID. So we have a player playing on our team right now that hasn't had an extra year, her COVID year. So that's going to go on for the next, basically, the freshmen last year, they will have their COVID year through their senior year. So every year you're going to see players down the transfer portal that have graduated from their institution. They have a year of eligibility remaining. And so not only are we looking at high school potential student athletes, but now we're looking at the transfer portal and we have the opportunity to recruit players that have college experience already. Really good for us, not as good for parents because it dwindles the pool of available spots.
Do you think it's clogging up the system? In my definition of clogging, like you said, it's given less spots for the seniors coming out and juniors coming out, and it's clogging the system where,
Yeah,
and they're waiting to get answers.
yeah.
And and not to be the bad guy or the coach is like, if you haven't got your offer by now, you're not getting one.
I think everybody does that portion of it, maybe have a little different strategy, but I do think that, for example, the 2022 class, I think that people will probably save one spot at least and see who goes in the transfer portal after the college soccer season is done. And if they don't see anything they like in there over from November to February or March, then I think some high school players that may be late bloomers will now see themselves getting offers from institutions that have not found anybody in the portal that they want.
I think at the Division II level, it's inflated the roster sizes a little bit at some institutions. And then some of the same experiences with the Division I dead period. It really slowed our process down too, because there are a lot of kids waiting to hear from potential opportunities at the Division I level. And yeah, I mean, I know a lot at our level are looking in the transfer portal, and how that works is if somebody's finishing up at one institution, and they can pursue their master's degree and the current institution they're at doesn't have it, they're looking for an opportunity to maybe have some of their school covered through their master's studies as well. So that's where that all kind of comes into play.
I would say that, kind of echoing what Mark just said, that NAIs, we have to also kind of wait to see, because kids want to wait to hear from the D1s, D2s, D3s. So we've kind of always already been at the end of the, the senior year decision time. So I don't think it's affected us as much. If anything, I think it's actually been kind of a blessing. Because
It's helped us.
it's helped us because there's kids that are, there aren't as many spots, and or money is tighter or different. And so I end up kind of reaping the benefits of that. So, there always has to be a silver lining. So I can be that if you want me to.
There you go.
So Mark, we had a situation.
Yep.
It's close to the panel here. Mark's daughter, Darian.
Yep.
Went to Maryville, where the school is. Finished, graduated early. Came to JUCO. The COVID hit. She was just going to train with us and start school. So I held some money for her. Okay. Well, it was a blessing for her, not a blessing, but she ended up playing the full year for ours conference, top of the conference, first team all conference, great player. I mean, really benefit, I think personally, Mark can test for that, but getting the experience of the college life, she's way ahead in education. She got a free year. Okay. She's doing well. She got hurt. She did her knee last part of the season. It will set her back a little bit, but basically she got a year of experience for no credit to her. So I think it benefited her.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad, you can, I mean, he doesn't like the coach, but we go from there.
Well, thank you. And all right, so here we go. Do walk-ons have an opportunity to receive scholarships? So,
Again, I have to be, as we answer this, NCAA rules require us to be very broad. I will say that there are student athletes or programs that will not take any walk-ons, some that do, some will continue to be a walk-on the entire time unless they really come in and obviously are in the starting 11 regularly, that kind of thing. And then others will be scholarshipped over their body of work and time at the university. I've seen a gamut of ways of how walk-ons are dealt with.
at the JUCO level, junior college?
We have a couple,
Okay,
and here's how it works. They can receive a scholarship after we see if there's a pool of money there. Okay, if there's extra scholarships there. Here's my thing is our scholarships don't carry over. Okay, meaning is if we don't use them, they're gone.
Yep.
So if we have a player that puts the time, effort, energy, and has a great attitude, okay, and she's walking on and I have a scholarship at semester, I will reward her. Now, I don't know if I'll renew it in the fall because I have to go out and get other players. But if she progresses down the line, yes, I will do that.
Yes, there are opportunities.
I'll leave it at that. Yes.
Okay. How do college athletes juggle medical majors and D1, D2 sports? So let's start with Coach Jess.
I think you just have to see which institution you're interested in and what their resources are for student athletes. So many of the Division I schools are going to have academic support. They've got tutors for any class really that you need to be in. Obviously medical or any of the other majors that are a little bit more demanding. I think you have to make sure that you have a head coach that's willing to allow that to happen, because believe it or not, there's some schools that a coach might say, hey, that's not going to work with our practice schedule, or you're going to miss because of a lab, things like that. So you need to make sure that the philosophy of the coach is I would think a well-rounded one, a holistic one, so that the young lady can pursue what she wants to do after sport. So I think definitely doable to do both. You have to know how to manage your time. You have to use mental health support and just really any of the resources, the nutritionist, if the school has that, all these things are going to factor in. Can you physically, mentally, emotionally meet the demands of two really high time consuming parts of your student athlete career?
For Division II, the model, I think Mark mentions this at the beginning about the time and the demand. And as you work down, the requirements or demands change a little bit. And that's a model that Division II sport has put on us, the Ncaa. It's 20 hours a week in terms of contact that Division II coaches are allowed. And we have to track that CARA, accountable athletic related activities. Division I is different. And so that flexibility and those timelines are built in through the model of Division II to help offset some of those challenges.
And I'll actually tag on to that. We are actually at 20 hours as well. So
Is that during the season?
yeah, during our championship season. So we can't keep the student athletes for 40 hours a week. Obviously those rules help balance those majors as well.
And I would just add that if you're a student athlete in these difficult majors, it's more about just making sure you have the tools to organize your time and not procrastinate when you have the ability and the time to, do both, right? Like you can't binge watch, Real Housewives or whatever and sit there for 10 hours and waste your time. So anyway,
I think Jess said it perfectly. If you need to investigate and also interview the coach to see what your experience is, because it doesn't matter how good a player you are, at the end of the road, there's what percent turn them pro. Okay, a lot more now. The women's game is getting more, but if the coach is not a favorable opponent because his job's on the line or her job's on the line, because this kid might graduate, but if she can't perform and do both, I think that the best thing that I've heard was you got to interview the coach about it.
all right. So the next, it says, what kind of fitness training and recovery processes do athletes go through while in soccer programs?
Everything.
Can you expand on that?
Sure. Again, I think it really just depends on the institution you're at. So, for AVLA and Ncaa, we do have a strength and conditioning staff that works with us. There's also things that personally for me, I think are important to my program that I put into a summer workout program, so that in each season you can come in fit, and remain healthy, is probably the biggest thing that we want to get out of that. And then, so NAIA, we do have some rules. One of them being that we are required to give you a day off during the 7-day week, and it starts Monday to the Sunday. So I think that goes into the recovery process. But we also know as coaches that full recovery from a game takes about 72 hours. Sometimes you don't get that amount of time in between games. So we do our best to, we find a way to do, pool workouts or band workouts or yoga, or, we use all possibilities. Again, at the Division I level, you're going to have a lot more, resources, I guess you could say. So, basically telling you that at NAI, I have to be very creative.
Mark?
It's going to vary program from program. I think everybody's doing something. The support personnel in terms of athletic training, recovery, strength and conditioning, whether a program does the fitness packets in the summer, training or physical fitness test at the beginning, trying to keep the kids to come in some kind of shape. We all hit the ground running pretty quickly in terms of preparation before first matches. So it's just going to vary, but typically in this day and age, I think most programs are the use of the internet and social medias, all kinds of things to engage their athletes and encourage fitness through the summer, and then just from a litigious world, the safety of the student athlete, with the athletic trainers and so forth. And it's pretty thorough anymore, I think, at any of the levels.
Anything different?
No, I think you got to tell your daughters to come in shape. Like I have conversations with our players, they come in and out of shape, and everybody knows when we start. Okay, it's August 1, nothing's changed. Okay, whether it's too far to the school to train and do whatever, everybody knows August 1 we go. So you should be get to a 7 and 7.5, and I'll get you to a 10. But if you come in at a 5, you're behind the 8 ball. It's amazing these kids come in and they're like, well, I thought you'd just get me in shape. Well, it's not that way.
Jess?
Maybe to add just something a little bit different. And I think this just depends on the institution, the level that you're at. But obviously, when you have higher budget in these areas, you're going to have more resources to put into your student athletes that could potentially elevate the way that they're playing on the field. So, no matter where you go, I think what you're doing now at the club level is a really good base. But you have to understand that you're going to have to elevate everything that you do from a mental standpoint and a physical standpoint to compete against women at the college level. It doesn't matter what division you're in. You can't do the same things you're doing now and expect to make a significant impact. So I think being prepared to do that, but from a resource standpoint, I think at the different levels, there's going to be different opportunity to grow your game. So.
Okay, so I believe that is the end of the questions that were submitted. However, I do see that there are a couple that were in the chat. So we'll address it real quick. One is for the unofficial visits, is it just the head coach that cannot meet with the player? Can they meet with the assistants or athletic director or someone that can show them around? Or is it completely on your own?
I think you reach out to the admissions department of the schools to do your unofficial. You can send an email, I think, to the coaches. Hey, I'm going to be on campus visiting. For us, Division II, if they're around, we have the ability to speak with them. We may not, obviously in season, it becomes a little more challenging. Our focus is our championship season and those things. It just depends, but to do the unofficial to start one, I think you go through the admissions department and maybe send the coach an email that you plan to be on campus.
I think at the Division I level, it's not an official visit. It's an unofficial visit, but you're formally invited by the coaching staff. And the only thing that makes it unofficial is that you don't get things paid for. So there's an itinerary. Typically you're going to meet the staff first. You're going to go on a campus tour, an athletic facility tour. You might meet certain people that are part of the extended staff of the program. So an academic advisor, athletic trainer, or maybe even the sports supervisor that represents the athletic administration. You might go into the locker room before a game. Typically people are going to want to invite you so that you can see the training or the game environment. So you can see if this is the style of play you like. So that's, it kind of depends, but I think a lot of Division I schools are going to have you meet a lot of different people and actually invite you on campus for that.
Anything different? All right, so then the next question on here in the chat was, can you clarify how long you expect the COVID year to impact incoming classes?
So
3 more years, 4 more
I
years?
think 2025 it'll go, because at 21, 22, 2025 it'll be back to normal. And can I just say hi to Anna DiCarlo that asked this question?
Yeah.
I miss coaching you.
I think the only other question that is for the general ID camp, is there a site to register to be made aware of camps coming to the local area? Not really. I mean, as a club, we offer a general ID camp within the club, but all these camps that have college coaches at it, they have to be made open to the public, general public. So, you know, you go to websites really and things like that. As far as ones that we would offer within the club, we'll send out an email blast, social media. We have a social media queen who creates all these types of cool graphics. Her name is Nicole Neuendorf. So you can contact her and maybe she'll send you one, you know, as well. So other than that, I think that answers a lot of things. I know we covered a lot tonight as well. As I said, it's recorded. We will put this up on our website so you can access it. We will create a written of the presentation, a PDF of the presentation, so you can also access that. And then if you have further questions, you can always contact me. My email is there for the club. But I just want to thank all of you that participated for really spending this much time, but we hopefully made it very beneficial, worthwhile, and informative for you. I would also like to thank the college coaches that are here. They all have families, so they spend, you know, a couple hours doing this. So thank you to everybody on the panel. Other than that, I hope you have a good rest of the night. Green Bay Packers. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Should deal with Green Bay.
End it.
Okay, hold on.